I accidentally started a mill. My husband, who's Irish, and myself had never heard about this word before until a friend of ours actually pointed it out to us. Now, for those that don't know what the word mental is, it's an old Irish word that describes a group of people coming together and help a neighbour or a farmer with work that needs to be done because it's either too heavy or too big for him.
So we bought 5 acres of overgrown farmland in Cremon. And it was so overgrown with rushes and brambles that I could have lost my husband in it. And what we wanted to do with this land was to create a woodland with native Irish trees just for biodiversity. Now, my husband has a tech background and I'm a baker. So obviously we didn't know a whole lot about planting trees. So you do what anyone would do, right? You go onto the internet and you go Google tree planting Ireland. Now, a lot of things came up, obviously, but one of the things that came up was a website for a charity up in County Clare called Home Tree. So what they do is they grow native trees from seed. But the other thing they do is they do an experience week, which is 5 days on site, 5 full days on site. And the things that they promote when you read what the experience week is about is woodland creation, restoration, and biodiversity. Well, needless to say, I was hooked. So when you look at that picture, nice blue sky, right? It wasn't like that at all. This was in October. And Home Tree's classroom is the great outdoors. And they show us different environments. So one of the things that it brought us to was this rectangular piece of land at the side of on a slope. And it was an old native woodland. But to get there, we had to cross the bog. I've never been on the bog. I've never been in an old Irish woodland, native woodland. It was obviously raining, but the trees were just gnarly. They were covered with moss. But the smell, the dampness that you could smell, it just added this mystical something to it. Now, Home Tree also, like I said, grow trees. And what for me was a wow factor was to see how many trees they were able to grow in a small space. These are all grown from seeds. When I went to Home Tree, I found my tribe. I found a community that was willing to share their knowledge and support you with whatever it is that you wanted to do. So one of the things, because it's 5 days intensive, they offer a size to camp. Remember October? So, I'm getting too old to sleep on the thin mattress on the damp ground. And I have social anxiety, so I needed a place to, get away from people. So I booked myself into an B&B. And you could have seen from the picture, I'm so glad I did it, because dry clothes and a hot shower at the end of the day, lifesaver. So when I came back, at the time, this is almost 2 years ago, a new government scheme came in effect, and it's called the Native Tree Area Scheme. So under this scheme, you can plant up to a hectare of native trees without needing extensive licensing for it, which makes it actually very easy. So because we want to plant ourselves, husband and I had to source the trees myself as well. So I drove across the country to pick them up. 1 hectare of trees is 1,300 trees. Best time to plant them is the winter because the trees are dormant, so there's no leaves on it, and the roots are bare, which makes them very easy to plant. But remember, it's the winter, so there's one thing predictable in Ireland, and that's the weather. The unpredictable part is how long will it actually rain for? That's your answer right there. So the laneway to our side was really, really bad. And we had a moment when I brought back the trees, both of us looking at our car. Like I drove the car back, there's 1,300 trees, couldn't look outside out my back window. I had about enough space on my driver's seat, but the smell in that car was absolutely amazing. But what we decided to do was to ask friends and family to come and help out. Now, first day of planting, that was what our laneway looked like. So we asked our neighbours if people could park their cars there. So it took us 6 days, so 3 weekends. But you know what? People will show up. Irish will show up as long as there's a hot cup of soup, some fresh bread from a local bakery, cups of tea, a couple of bickies, which was absolutely fantastic. So when we were planting these trees, we could move around as a group because the trees are about 2-3 meters apart that you plant them. So you have conversations. So one of our friends, when we were asking him, like, why would you come out here to do this? She was saying, it's like the bog all over again. And she remembers growing up, going to the bog to safe turf, and it was as much about the activity as it was about community. And here she was with her own two, doing something similar or maybe even better. Now, remember, it's still winter. We got a message that we're supposed to come the first day of planting, and I get this message during the day saying, listen, can't make it today. They couldn't find wellies for the youngest. Novelty item, apparently. But they came the next day, and they came back 2 weeks later because the kids were so excited about it all. They wanted to come again. So they arrived at the last day of planting. Up till today, I still don't know if it's because of the work or because they were spying on aliens with the telescopes that they made from the tree guards. When it comes to community, it's about stories, because the stories is what binds us together. But what happened over those 6 days was it brought something up in us. It was kind of, okay, can we do something with this community and go further with it? Can we grow and give away 100,000 trees by 2030? It does take a bit of planning though. Most of you have probably seen ash dieback and know what it is. But if you go along the hedgerows, there's a lot of trees that are dead. And it's because of ash dieback disease. This is an invasive fungal disease that is killing our native ash trees. Now, it was imported from continental Europe, and it was first reported in October 2012, so it's quite a while ago. But I would like to point out that we are living on an island. So with every tree that we import, we increase the risk of importing disease that could potentially wipe out our native trees. And that's where local nurseries come in, and they're very, very important. So with the community as our backup, but also with our friends up in Home Tree who have been amazing all along this process, we started our community tree nursery. Now, again, there's only so much you can do with a community without heavy machinery. So we got someone out to do all the hard work for us. Remember, it was overgrown, so they had to scrape the topsoil, do all the groundwork for the polytunnels, and got the polytunnels in. It's about stories. Community is about creating stories, about memories. Going out, collecting seed for hawthorn trees with our group. We have community days. And what we do is whatever tasks we have, we put it on the whiteboard, and people come and just do what it is that they want to do. It has to be fun. You needed a stratification bed, which is basically, simplistically saying, a holding box for seed over winter. Nobody had heard about it. Thank you, internet again. But between a couple of people, we made it happen. And one of our friends painstakingly marked the beds in our polytunnel. But, of course, the next group comes in, starts filling up the beds while wiping out all the stripes that he made in the process. owl boxes. The transition year students locally made these owl boxes and donated 2 of them to us, to Local Roots. But it took 5 of us and 3 ladders to actually get it up the pole, because it needs to be 3 to 5 meters off the ground. And there are no big trees around where we are. Lovely cold day in February. Remember the snow? You see the Sleafmish Mountains in the background. And 2 of our friends cleared a good patch for our wildflower meadow, and this is what it looks like right now. Now, it's not just about our little community. There's a huge ripple effect happening. I already mentioned the transition year students, but local companies are coming out for a team building event, and so these senior team leaders came out and put the beds in their second polytunnel and the outdoor beds. Now, it's not all about work. It's about learning together. A friend of ours brought us 2 large plastic boxes of frog spawn that she saved from a puddle outside her house. Now we had two ponds, so we divided them over the 2. The kids absolutely loved it. Our WhatsApp group was buzzing with updates, pictures, questions. Sadly, those ponds dried up because the absolutely lovely weather we've had, and our frog spawn didn't survive. But we are learning from our failures. We got another group out for team building. They dug 2 new ponds for us and lined it with bentonite clay. So hopefully this year we'll have more frogs. We have frogs and knapjack toads on site. So we're looking forward to that. Now remember, I mentioned the 100,000 trees in 2030. So where are all these trees going? First of all, to our community. To us, to friends, family, community groups locally. And because we do need a bit of money for years to come, we have foresters interested to buy these trees for government schemes. These trees are certified by the Department of Agriculture. And if we have any left over that we can plant in a community, they'll be given for free to Free Trees Ireland. I was asked a question recently, and it's one of those questions that bounce around in your head. So I was showing someone around the nursery, and I was asked, "What's in it for you?" And when that question was asked, to be honest, I get angry. To me, it was like, well, I'm doing this for all of us. But then you start thinking about it, and what I realized was that this is what's in it for me. Before all this, I would have been community is what's in it for me, because I would have been lonely before all this. I am so frustrated with how governments are handling climate change. I couldn't get my tired, depressed body out of bed with all the news that we're hearing day after day. And I felt this small and this insignificant to do anything about any of it. Now, medals are not just a work party. They are a way to bring people together and out of social isolation. They are a way to share knowledge and to feel empowered that we can do something about things like climate change, social injustice, war, protest, anything on local scale. And can you imagine what Ireland, what the whole world could look like if we all joined a medal just for the fun of it? So if you're not ready to start a medal this year, the best thing you can do is join one. Thank you.